Welcome, it's Lumpy and the Fun Boss, and we're going to talk about our venture to Waiheke Island. And we took the ferry out there from Auckland, and as you can see, it was close to where we did our free walking tour the day prior.
So picked a morning ferry so we'd have some time around Waiheke. None of the wineries open until 11, so we didn't want to go too early. But we were lucky. It was a beautiful day, the sun was out, and the water was nice and calm.
It is about a 30 to 45 minute ride from Auckland over to Waiheke Island, but today was a nice day, so it was pretty smooth. And as you can see, the bay at Waiheke Island where the ferry arrives at is pretty smooth.
It was pretty easy to book a bus because we were on the off season. I know during the summertime it's pretty crowded there. We were on a hop-on, hop-off bus, and there's actually two of them. There's one that does a group of wineries that are closer to the ferry landing, but we wanted to see more of the island and the gin distillery, so we chose the one on the back half. Do check the days if you're looking, because the wineries are not open 7 days a week during the off season. Of ours, two of the wineries were not open that day, but two of them were, and so was the gin distillery.
So the first one we went to was the Man of War Winery, which was on the Man of War Bay on the far eastern side.
And that took us a little while to get there, but a beautiful scenery. Thoroughly enjoyed the bus ride. And once we got there, we knew we were staying a while. We actually missed the first bus that came around an hour later to pick up because we were just enjoying the view so much and enjoying the food and the wine.
It was a very nice day out, and it started out a little chilly, but it warmed up. And as you can see at Man of War Winery, they have a little selection you can do of 4 of them, and then their food was pretty good. And then as the day went on, people started showing up in their boats, and some of them would get in their inflatables and come in and eat at the Man of War Winery. It's pretty interesting. So the next place we went to is we jumped on the bus and went up to the Waiheke Distillery because we like gin, so there's a gin and vodka distillery on the island.
Now, that was a lot of fun because in the first one we were down on the water right in this little cove. Well, here at the distillery we were up higher and had this amazing overlook, and so there's a basket full of blankets and it was a little windy. So we grabbed blankets and sat in our chairs there and had our tasting there.
So they have a pretty good selection of 3 gins.
Or 3 vodkas.
We chose the gin. And interestingly, they had a normal gin, a Navy strength, and then they had this one gin that had tart cherry juice in it, which was unusual. It was pretty good because we bought a bottle.
And of course, not wanting to drink without having something to eat too, we tried some of their calamari, and it was some of the best calamari I've ever had. It was really tender and tasty.
And so we spent a couple hours up here because, as you can see, it was just beautiful and striking. And you look across the Channel Islands to the Rotorua area. That's the mountains to the far, out way past the Channel Islands. And then, as you can see, we were doing our gin tasting, and we had some calamari, as she said, was really good. It was. It's some of the best one we had. And then there's that tart cherry vodka, which was unusual but good. And there was a splattering of animals, but birds, you'd see quite a few birds. There's still sheep, wherever you go in New Zealand you'll see sheep. But as you can see, there's all sorts of activity on the water. It was a weekend, and so people were out sailing, people were out motorboating, people were out fishing. Everybody was kind of doing something. It was a busy day because it was so nice out and the weather was hospitable. And then, as you can see, there is tracking for the hop-on, hop-off bus. So you can see them coming, so you know when to walk out there. And they're pretty good when they're within cell service. There are some blind spots on the island where you don't get good cell coverage. But for the most part, we could pretty much predict when the bus was coming, so we'd be out there and meet it.
It was really enjoyable too because the woman driving the first bus and the last bus we rode, which was the longest amount of time, was just full of great stories about the history of the island and what life was like there and things like that. And she really made the bus trip interesting and enjoyable.
And the last place we went to was Awaroa Winery. Interesting. We didn't really get a good video of the people, but it's owned by a PhD
Economics professor.
economics professor at University of Auckland. Who knew? It was an interesting place. Good wine.
Well, we were there by ourselves on that one. We got there and literally looked at the sign. We're like, okay, they close in 45 minutes. And we walked in and he was literally shutting things down. But since we walked in, he stayed open. And just the nicest guy sat and visited with us. And we tasted the wine, ended up taking a couple bottles back with us. Was really good wine, but he said the majority of their wine is all sold to their wine club members. So you really can't buy the wine off of Waiheke Island.
So if you want it, you got to go there. And as you can see, we ended the evening with a kind of a night cruise into Auckland. It was pretty nice.
Now there's two different ferry companies that do trips over there. You want to look at their bookings because the one we chose had fewer options, which means we weren't able to jump on an early ferry going back.
And that's it. Talk to you later.